So when you think back, let's focus on what went well. So what points of communication do you think went well, but then also what could be improved as we continue to add these conditions in different states?
For me, what went well was the speed with which everything kind of took off from the newborn screening. The results came back. My pediatrician notified me within hours of him getting those results. I was referred right away. Within hours of me calling to make an appointment, I had an appointment for the next day. So that went well. I mean, there was not a lot of waiting. So that very quick Google searching we did, that only had to last 24 hours before somebody who was more expertise in that field was able to say, this is what our plans are. This is what we think we're going to be able to do for you. So that went well. What could have been communicated better was what the results really meant, what Krabbe disease really was, because the person communicating them to me had never heard of that disease. And that's to no fault of his. It's a very rare disease, but there should be support for the person who's expected to communicate this to me, and how to communicate it and what it really means and how to interpret it. Because without getting into too much of the science, I mean, there was a test that came back positive and a follow-up test that came back negative, even though it was not negative. And that's why he communicated it as he believed that it was going to end up being false positive. But really what that meant was that he had late onset and that he didn't currently have any disease progression. And so just the way things were communicated was incorrect. But I did appreciate how fast everything was communicated.
I would have to say that, when I listen to many stories in the ALD community, mine mirrors somewhat of Laura's in the sense that we were able to get an appointment very quickly. I had gotten that information, as I say, at 4:30 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, but I had an appointment for confirmation testing for Monday morning. So at least, we weren't waiting. And that's, unfortunately not the case with all ALD families that I hear. A lot of people do have to wait, or they have to wait on test results for quite some time. We got our results within a week, and we were, informed about both our children, because I actually had brought my older son to our confirmation testing appointment as well, and had said he needed to be tested, right then and there also. So mine is similar in the sense that the initial information, but as far as speed of appointment and results, that was pretty expeditious. However, also similarly, the information that we were getting in real time from, the center where we went for confirmation testing still wasn't, it wasn't as solid as maybe hopefully it is now. I mean, I'm hoping that, although I'm going to tell you, like, as new states on board, it's still very confusing, and I hear this at conferences a lot. However, I just happened to have the luck of, a family member was working with someone else who had previously worked in a leukodystrophy clinic. So I was able to get hooked up with an ALD specialist, physician that weekend, that Saturday after I got that news. It was just like very, very lucky, this like 6 degrees of separation type of thing that occurred. So I was able to get accurate information, get away from Google a little bit. It still was a lot to process and it was very hard. But at least I knew I was getting accurate information. And that really actually helped me heading into the confirmation testing. And then also helped guide my decisions, after that. Was I going to stay locally, or was I going to go to this center of excellence that was, not for us, fortunately, not out of reach, travel wise and from a monetary standpoint. We live in New Jersey, but work in New York, which is where we had our children. And my older son had just missed it, being on the newborn screening panel by literally a year. But, New Jersey and New York, that's really not so far from Massachusetts. So we were very lucky in that way. So that's pretty much what went well, I would say, is that the speed of information, but similar to what, Laura had just said, like, I really didn't understand, and I'm a nurse. So, but you know, nurses don't, we're not experts in every field of medicine ever known to mankind. So even I was like, even Googling what people were telling me about results, like, what did that even mean? Like, what did they really just say to me, you know? Because when all this is happening, you're sort of having like, you're there, but you're having like an out of body experience, sort of. You know, it's just so much coming at you all at once. The information, as I say, the care of your new child, and then if you have another, you know, child as well. But as I say, those were the positives in the beginning for us as well.
While I can't relate to receiving newborn screening information, I absolutely will never forget Diagnosis Day for the same reasons you both mentioned. Like it's so much being thrown at you at once. And I love how you said that, Kelly, like it's an out-of-body experience. That's absolutely what it was. And you're also expected to make decisions. And without proper guidance, I feel like those decisions may not be made correctly. I'm not saying you two didn't make correct decisions, but I think we all can see how someone being so overwhelmed may not make the right decisions the way things are going right now. And so I'm so grateful for this conversation, because it's through these types of discussions that we learn what we can improve. So